SharkyBreath.
He plays video games.
Hello, and welcome back to Disco Elysium. I am still wearing my conceptualization clothing, aren't I? Yeah, I sure am. I probably could have fixed that before I started the episode. Oh, that would have been a good idea. That would have been a great idea. Whatever, that didn't take too long. How are you? You can't answer that. I'm apparently off my game this morning. How are... Okay, so here's the thing. Right? I was looking at what my goals are, and mostly what I've got is a whole bunch of side material that largely hinges on me being able to open up the ice cream maker, right? The stuff for Sona. I can't help Sona until I can get the ice cream maker open, and for that I need to be beefier than I am, and I'm not sure exactly how to go about that, aside from, like, gather the right sort of thoughts or equipment, or possibly spend a bunch of skill points. But even that I can't really do, because physical instrument, I'm limited to just the two, you know? In any case, there's that, and then in the main quest, then obviously the next thing to do is to talk to Claudia and really grill her over being a liar. But honestly, I'm not really feeling that at the moment. Like, I will do it. It's just, I don't want to right now. It seems like one of those things that I'll do when I'm a little bit closer to being seriously ready to get done with this main quest. I mean, I think we're not as close to the end of the main quest as all that. Maybe we are. I don't know. In any case, it occurs to me that I can talk to Everard about the fact that there was some sort of rich weirdo in his box and see if he has anything to say about that. He might not. And if he doesn't, well, I have a sub-plan, but we'll see what happens here. Hello, Everard.
Mr. Dubois, a pleasure as always. You don't have to sit down this time, since you've already sat on that chair.
Yeah, you've already, proven your point, apparently. Plus, I actually won that conversation in as much as you can win that conversation, despite the fact that I was sitting on your awful chair. So remember the container I asked you about? Turns out there's a mega-rich light-bending guy inside. I can, in fact, bring it up. Great.
Mega-rich light-bending guy? Oh my god. How did that get in there?
A great question. He's so rich he could get in anywhere. Slime like him must have oozed in through the cracks. He must have been in the container when someone accidentally closed the door. I don't know how he got in there. I didn't like him. But then I am disinclined to like the hyper-rich, as it turns out. It's morally questionable as far as I'm concerned. Let's call him Slime, why not?
Damn it to hell, Harry. I specifically told my guys to check all the containers for mega-rich light-bending guys.
He slams his fist on the table, because that's what Everard does. Nothing can stop an innovative mind. I think he wants to take down the proletariat, Everard. Kim, tell him he was there. Some of him may have been a figment of my imagination. I do get the impression that maybe Everard doesn't necessarily believe me here. I guess I could try and ask Kim for backup.
There was a guy in the container, but he didn't bend any light. That was in the detective's head.
The lieutenant says slowly. I appreciate the backup partially anyway. Continue.
Honestly, guys, we might be moving a spot of drugs through this harbor, but I won't be caught transporting the light-bending mega-rich. I have a reputation to protect.
He shakes his head. Yes, for God's sake, you're a socialist. The mega-rich are people too. He was a nice man, gave me stock tips. Yes, the transportation of the mega-rich should be more tightly regulated. Didn't seem like he was safe. You should be honored by the presence of this magus. He was of half Revacholian blood and amassed his wealth using the mysterious bond of nationhood. Wow, that spectrum of how much I support this rich guy, it really goes off the charts towards the end there, huh? No, I'm going to go with the socialist option.
You're right, Harry. I am a socialist.
His face was serious.
I'm going to catch the mega-rich guy inside the container and harvest his energy to power the harbor's fog lights.
I really hope you can do that, Everett. That's amazing. Continue.
I shudder to think what you're going to tell me next, Harry.
He thinks I'm lying. Even with Kim's support, he still thinks I'm lying. Continue.
Not for 1 second did he believe there's an actual mega-rich person somewhere in his container town.
Okay, I'm leaving. Cool, thanks, Everard. Nobody believes me. And by nobody, I mean Everard doesn't, but that's okay. Because, I do technically have a history of lying to Everard. I cannot deny this. Alright, well, in that case, I think what I'm going to do is read. I'm going to read a lot. I have a lot of books at this point, And yes, that's going to kill a lot of time, but I feel like the main things I need to do, I don't understand how to do them yet, and while I'm reading, I can at least be working on thoughts, I guess, you know? Man, I wish I could fast travel out of this place. I get so lost when I'm trying to describe what I'm doing and while also trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be walking. I can't do two things at once. My brain isn't this complicated. Anyway, yes, I think I'll sort out my thought cabinet, make sure I'm working on what I want to be working on, and then I'm going to just basically read for a long time. In any case, give me a second to... Well, wait a second. I could probably just read here. As places to read go, this isn't bad. The background sound is actually kind of awful. The background sound is terrible. Never mind, I'm leaving. Never mind, I'm leaving. Where can we go? Where's a good place to go to read? I want to get out of the rain, you understand, you know? It seems weirdly soggy for going through your books at that point. But I don't know, I guess I go to the Whirling in Rags. We can go out on the balcony level. That's a thought. Sure, let's do that. Not here, but you know, up there, yes. Okay. Oh wow, Elizabeth is just totally gone permanently, huh? Wait, is there any point in talking to you two again? Now that I know who you are, my partner? Hi?
Again?
No.
I can't.
See you around.
Yes, sir.
Nope, there's no point in talking to either of you. And I guess that's just fine. I guess we don't have to worry about it. Wait, okay. The borscht. Do we care about the borscht, right? There had to be... Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a particularly valuable point, but there had to be some point in finding out about it. Putting more alcohol in is the worst idea. It's the worst idea. The fact that it just sort of takes the edge off and keeps everybody relatively happy is probably a good thing if we're looking to maintain the balance, but if you go too far, then people get erratic, you know? Taking the alcohol out is the only other option I've got, and if I don't do one of those two things, the quest doesn't resolve. So I guess I'm inclined to take the alcohol out and hope that that doesn't destroy everything.
The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod.
Okay,
At
borscht.
nod, the man says, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know your language. You can just say something cool in return.
No, I know what he's talking about. Let's go with no.
Horse need more vodka?
Okay, that's the same thing he said when I said something cool, so that doesn't seem to matter. Continue?
Okay, so it's vodka that keeps the men happy and in good spirits. Clever move by the Union.
Mm-hmm. So Kim supports the fact that there's vodka in there, or at least appreciates the logic behind it.
Of course, turning it up seems like a dangerous idea. Honestly, the place is a powder keg.
Okay. Clever move by the Union. I mean, it is. It does keep them happy, and this is exactly the same discussion that I had with myself last time this happened. Turning the vodka up is terrible. It's a terrible idea. What happens if I tell him not to do it? I mean, I am the police. He would probably have to do it, but everyone's going to get less happy, right? Is this worth the 5 experience I'll probably get for it? It's weird to me that logic is like, you probably shouldn't turn it up, but logic is not like, but if you turn it down, everybody's going to be aggravated as well. It disturbs me how much I am motivated by the will to get this out of my task log. Despite the fact that there are tasks in my task log that I probably will never get rid of at this point, because one of them is to, go find cigarettes and smoke them, and one of them is to further explore the advanced race problem thing. No vodka.
The cook gives you a long, disappointed look, then turns the stove off and seems to wait for you to speak.
I got 15 experience. That seems to indicate that this was significant, more significant than I thought. The cook is disappointed with me. Kim said nothing. I don't know what to think about that. Okay, well, hopefully that doesn't come to bite me in the rear end. It probably will. It's this game. Everything does eventually. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to imagine that we sat down at this table, and I'm going to read some books. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that I haven't actually looked at. Not only the stuff that I bought last time, but I feel like I never... Did I ever actually read this, for example? La Fumée, Volume 1, Number 4? I'm not sure that I ever did actually read this. I picked it up. I think it was in that room that had the statue of the Karl Marx analog, you know? I think. But I don't know, is the thing. Anyway, let's get some encyclopedia business going on. It seems to me that having high encyclopedia stat for the task of reading is probably going to be beneficial. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, something going on with my nasal passages. You never know. Sometimes this sort of thing just happens. Give me a second here. I'm going to try and find more encyclopedia business. I do have the hat, and perception's not going to help me while I'm reading books. By and large, I never want to take this thing off of my head, but maybe this is the time to... I don't know. Well, it's fine. For just now, it's fine. But it's only a temporary thing, okay? It's only temporary. I can probably switch back to these. For now. This is good. This is good. This is fine. Okay. Okay. Indeed, it has cleared that particular borscht task out of my log. Get back on what you were doing. Okay. Okay. So, let's see here. I read The Greatest Innocence for sure. Just making sure there's nothing else that I missed here, you know. Okay. I suppose these would be in order. I definitely read the Cockatoo book. I definitely read the primer for small kids. Did I actually read La Fumée, Volume 1, Number 4? With King Fristle? With white antlers? I know I read the description of it, because otherwise I wouldn't have known this was King Fristle. Let's have a look at it.
The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical portrait of the late King Fristle. From the sides of his head, a pair of white antlers spread to the corners of the cover.
They surely do. Interestingly, this is one of the few options of books that has a cover that actually represents what it says it represents. Why Fristle?
Because Fristle was incompetent, foolish, and cruel. In short, the embodiment of everything the communards wished to overthrow. It's satire, you see.
Yeah, it makes for an easy target for this sort of thing. An easy figurehead for what they are opposed to. Flip through the pages, see what catches your eye.
To your disappointment, there aren't any full-color pictures to direct your attention. Just column after column of closely set text, interrupted occasionally by little doodles in black and white.
Well, let's have a look at those doodles at the very least. Continue.
No advertisements, you notice. So who's funding this radical commentary?
That's a very good question, I suppose. Continue.
After rifling the pages with your thumb several times, you return to the table of contents.
Apparently I don't care. Continue.
The magazine is divided into several sections. International developments, Kunst und Kultur, and local concerns. Just inside the cover, there's also an editor's note.
Okay, so I can look at all four of those things, or I can put it away. Well, let's start with the editor's note.
Comrade, as you know, this journal takes its name from Mazov's immortal expression, du cristal à la fumée. This was his way of describing the way the rigid, crystalline structures of capitalist ideology turned to smoke under communism.
Du cristal à la fumée. Okay, well, I assume that this is an accurate description. Sure, continue. Continue.
But, like the structures of capitalist ideology, we too are at risk of going à la fumée. Unlike many publications which are content to spoon-feed their readers reassuring drivel, La Fumée is committed to telling the radical truth, even when that truth may drive away potential subscribers.
Uh-huh. Volume 1, Number 4. You just got started and you're already suffering. Continue?
Only 4 issues in, and it sounds like they've already alienated their readership.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Logic, continue.
Perhaps they've overestimated the market demand for this kind of commentary.
That does seem possible. Continue.
So please, if you value our radical Mazovian perspective on contemporary politics, culture, and international affairs, please consider subscribing today. Yours in struggle, the editors.
Kim, I think this is a communist magazine. Or play it cool, pretend everything's in order. No, we're telling Kim.
What do you expect? It was laying around the office of the Debarders Union. They're probably bankrolling the thing.
He seems so legitimately angry with me. Was it in the office of the Debarders Union? Is that where I found it? I didn't even remember that. Continue.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you.
Okay, well, I guess let's catch up on international developments.
This section includes a long, tedious critique of the latest round of free trade negotiations between the EPIS nations and the Free State of Semenine.
Please, it's pronounced Epis. Continue.
You also skip over an article about heavy fuel oil smuggling along the Messina border, something about bear wrestling in Samara, book riots in Yugograd.
Wait, are you telling me that I read the long, tedious critique, but I did not read about bear wrestling? I'm not sure I can support my own method of reading books. Continue.
Whoa. Bear wrestling. Flip back to that.
I really appreciate how in tune I am with my own brain today. All right, so let's see about this bear wrestling. Or seems too foreign for my taste. No, bear wrestling.
It seems to be part of a new public fitness initiative in the People's Republic of Samara, SRV, devised and promoted by none other than President Kenajinsky himself.
A state-supported bear wrestling program? Continue.
According to this extremely credulous account, Uncle Sport, as he's affectionately known to his people, has recently decreed bear wrestling the national sport of the SRV.
Uncle Sport. Hang on, tell me more about this Uncle Sport. When it says bear wrestling, does that mean two bears are wrestling each other, or... Probably not. But sure, tell me more about Uncle Sport.
Based on the description in this article, he appears to be an extremely competent and democratically elected president.
Wow, that tells me nothing. Except that that's probably not true. Continue.
Sapormat Sport Kenajinsky is well into his third decade as president of the SRV. Outside Samara, he's known for three things: brutal repression of internal dissent, monumental corruption, and a near pathological obsession with physical fitness.
Is this a parody of Vladimir Putin? Great, now let's get on with the bear wrestling.
It's quite straightforward. A standard match features one man, or in some cases, woman, against one bear. Two competitors, one ring, 5 rounds, or until incapacitation.
That's a kind way to put it. Continue.
According to the SRV's Ministry of Information, the program has been a tremendous success. Public support stands at 87%, and youth obesity and alcoholism rates are down 12% and 7% respectively.
How about bear mortality rates, please? Continue.
This is the SRV we're talking about. If you think those are the real numbers, there's probably a guy who wants to sell you a bridge in La Chette.
I guess it's hard to fight a bear if you're out of shape. I guess it's hard to fight a bear if you're drunk. Not sure I trust these numbers. Let's go with that one, please.
What are you, a statistician? Did the moral intern send you on a fact-finding mission? This is the SRV party line, comrade.
Great. Kim, do you think there's any chance our case will take us to the SRV? The answer is no. But if I don't say that, then I have no chance to interact with Kim about this at all, and nothing has been gained aside from some shady figures about bear wrestling. Always good to catch up on foreign affairs, return to the table of context. No, we're going to talk to Kim.
The Samaran People's Republic? No, I should expect not. Why do you ask?
The lieutenant frowns. I was thinking it might be fun to see a bear fight. I was thinking it might be fun to partake in a bear fight. No reason. Let's do it! Bear fighting!
I suppose that would be something to see.
The lieutenant seems amused at the thought of you wrestling a bear. Yeah, it would probably end poorly for me, but you know what? That's not always bad, right? That seems to be half of my life around here. Continue.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you.
Okay, so what's Kunst und Kultur?
It takes a moment, but gradually it dawns on you that Kunst und Kultur must mean arts and culture.
I could have given you the Kultur is culture part, but I don't think I would have known that Kunst is arts. Good to know. Thanks. Continue.
Why they decided to title this one section Invalda is beyond you.
I don't know what that means. Invalder. Anyway, continue.
Obviously, because it's cool to drop random phrases in foreign languages.
Oh, so Invalder means in the language, yeah, why they did it in a different language, and it's because it's cool. Right, that makes sense. Continue.
As you leaf through this section, you come across several reviews of recent radio plays, as well as a brief artist spotlight featuring a local artist identified only as CS.
Okay, continue.
The main feature, though, is a long essay titled Tip Top Tourney, a critical Mazovian perspective.
Sure, continue.
The Tip Top Tourney is an inter-Isolari racing series, mostly known for its high speeds, ludicrous sponsorship deals, and high death toll. In Revachol, it's held quadrennially on the prestigious Zero Carousel racing circuit.
I suppose it's a symptom of how desperate we find ourselves in these times, with the pale encroaching and everyone expecting that eventually we're all doomed. That there are all these hobbies that seem to kill you. I mean, admittedly, we just went from bear wrestling directly to this race that is known for killing people, but I don't know. I'm sensing a theme is all. Read the profile of CS.
This so-called artist spotlight is really just a brief Q&A, made all the briefer by the subject's evident hostility to her interviewer.
Cindy? Cindy the Skull? I wonder if it's Cindy the Skull. I wonder if reading this particular book would have given me a bonus to get Cindy the Skull's paintbrush or something. All right, well, let's see what the communists have to say about Tip Top.
You think you're settling in for a relaxing recap of the most recent season, maybe sprinkled with some nice anecdotes about a few of the more colorful drivers.
But I'm not, huh? Continue.
Instead, you find yourself skimming a 10,000-word feature about all the politically problematic aspects of Tip Top Tourney.
10,000 words. What's wrong with Tip Top?
Where to even start? For one, there's the crass commercialism of its sponsorships.
Sure.
And then there's the practically criminal emphasis on deadly motor crashes.
What? Why didn't you have this opinion of the bear wrestling? Are these written by two different people? Is that the thing? Continue.
So, all of it, basically.
Seemingly. Hang on, who wrote this stuff? What's so bad about sponsorships? What's wrong with a good motor crash? They just keep it interesting. So who did write this?
Oddly enough, this article has two bylines. Nasteb Encolada Bernal and Exilus Buka.
I was reading it as Butcher. Exilus Butcher would be a heck of a name, is all. Continue.
There's no way those are real names.
Wait, why aren't they real names? Go ahead.
Have you ever met anyone named Exilus? Come on, they're plainly pseudonyms.
Well, I actually appreciate you chiming in with that conceptualization, given that I only know the names in this game through, what I've been exposed to so far. So I don't know if Exilus is a normal name or not. What's so bad about sponsorships? What's wrong with a good motor crash? So do I want to express tacit support for capitalism or death? Or both. Why not both? I could do both. What's so bad about sponsorships?
Under capitalism, the article says, every pursuit has its price. Every pleasure, even one as elemental as the joy of racing others around a track, is reduced to an advertising opportunity.
I mean, yes, that's basically true. Continue.
Thus, the so-called tourney becomes a competition between increasingly meaningless brand signifiers. Your discount laundry detergent racing against a pack of Astra cigarettes, or even a Frita.
Please pronounce the third T. Right, but then you get to see them crash. So apparently we're supporting both we're doing tacit support for capitalism and death, because why not? I mean, I guess they are. Never mind, carrying on.
And that precisely is what's problematic about it. Were it not for the promise of random, spectacular violence, audiences would quickly lose interest.
Indeed, continue.
At the end of the day, it's the destruction of these 750,000 real races that you're really watching for.
No, I'm pretty sure I like it for the racing. Wow, you're right. I really am just in it for the violence. I'm pretty sure that is the case.
You see, one cannot avoid the conclusion that Tip Top Tourney is simply the apotheosis of spectacular entertainment under capitalism.
So now we loop in Kim. Kim, did you know Tip Top Tourney is actually an orgiastic ritual of capitalistic destruction? I had no idea. Kim, you wouldn't believe how badly written some of these articles are. Kim, this article says that no one really watches Tip Top Tourney for the races. Okay, so this is if we're buying into the communist message 100% and just reciting it off to Kim. This is art cop, maybe, but it's more about the writing, which, you know, writing can be art as well. Let's go with no one really watches Tip Top Tourney for the races.
Oh, come on. Can this article read your mind?
It seems to think so. No, I guess not.
A certain kind of young man reads 1 or 2 books and suddenly thinks he understands the secret structures of reality.
The lieutenant sighs. Kim gets really disgusted with communist opinions really fast, doesn't he? There was a point at which I was theorizing that Kim was communist. I don't know how close I was to the mark, but he definitely is disgusted with their opinions. I don't know if he's jaded by it or if he just really opposes it or, well, I don't know. I don't know. Continue.
If I had to wager, I'd say they've never even seen the inside of a motor, much less a motor race.
Oh.
I take whatever they write with a large grain of salt.
Oh, it's horning in on his he likes motor carriage racing. He likes tricking out his vehicle and driving really fast. Of course he'd be offended by this opinion. Got it, continue.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you.
I didn't even think about that. Wow. Anyway, let's see what they mean by local concerns. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Unsurprisingly, much of this section is taken up with articles declaring unqualified support for the dock workers' strike.
Yeah, that seems about right. Continue.
You skim the headlines. Paint the harbor red and white.
They are doing so.
Martinez tames the wild pines. A city in revolt. First we take Martinez, then we take La Delta.
I mean, this is just propaganda, but, you know, I guess that's what I expected. Continue.
Finally, there's a brief article by the writer, G. Martin, accusing the owner of the Cape Side apartments of illegally attempting to evict certain communist tenants simply for not having paid their rent.
I mean, that's that's a fairly standard reason for pursuing eviction, I guess I would say. Like, it's not necessarily a good thing, sure, but, like, that is the system you're living in. Continue.
Ah, this must be Gaston's handiwork.
Oh! G. Martin. Gaston's handiwork. Huh. He's being evicted? Or is he talking about other members of the Communist Party? Was the room with the Karl Marx parody bust that I broke into back in the apartments, was that Gaston's room? I'm probably assuming too much. Damn communists, should have killed a lot of them when they had the chance. Because that's how it works. If it weren't for the wild pines, all those moochers would be out of a job. Charging rent just to live somewhere is pretty outrageous. Wouldn't it be better for everyone if labor and capital could reach some reasonable accommodation? Why should I care? This doesn't have anything to do with me. Okay, so, fascist. What do they call it? Super liberal? Presumably? Communist. That other one. The moderate route, I can never... Moralist. The moralist opinion, and then who cares? Let's just choose the communist option. Charging rent to live somewhere is pretty outrageous. I mean, in our system, it is not, but maybe it should be? I don't know.
The writer G. Martin remarks dryly that capitalists love wealth redistribution, so long as it's only redistributed upward.
I mean, yeah, no surprise there. Continue.
Good thing your rent-paying days are behind you.
It's true. And that's rhetoric saying that. It was pointed out to me in the comments that rhetoric is apparently the communist stat. I mean, apparently. And my rhetoric is pretty good these days, so sure, why not? Continue.
You flip back to the front of the magazine. The table of contents unfolds before you.
Okay, put it away. Well, that was a good time. I don't think I gained anything in particular from that particular inquiry, but I've read it now, and it's done. Okay, so we got Helm Dollarman. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Wait a second. Right, I had that other board game. Hang on. Can I actually play... I mean, it didn't work out with Wirral, but I don't have the equipment to play Wirral. Do you think I can actually play the board game with Kim? Because I'd like to, if possible. Right. Civilization building board game with a genocide option. Hooray! Let's have a look at it.
In your hands, you hold a brand new copy of the game, Suzerainty. It's snugly wrapped in a skin of plastic.
Continue.
The cover features a charming illustration depicting a mass of grinning laborers loading goods onto a ship, while a richly dressed administrator oversees their work.
Continue.
The exact location and time period are left deliberately vague, but it's clearly meant to represent the economic relationship between the Revacholian suzerainty and its many vassals.
That would appear to be the case, yes. And note that the vassals are extremely happy with their lot. Wow, I exceeded that by half. My encyclopedia is through the roof right now. Anyway, shake the box, remove the plastic wrap, leave it perfect and undisturbed. No, shake it!
The box has a nice heft to it. You hear the rattle of individual wooden tokens and feel their weight shifting back and forth.
I do appreciate a good meeple. Continue.
What treasures wait in store for you?
Let's find out. Continue.
Even before you open it, you can tell that this will be a meaty game of grand strategy and complex player interactions.
You might be right. Let's remove that plastic wrap.
The plastic wrap rips off as easily as a bodice in a tawdry historical romance.
That's not always the case with plastic wraps. Open the box.
There's a hiss as the lid slides off. Inside, you find a thick, full-color rulebook and more than a dozen pouches of various wooden components.
Okay, continue.
Savor that new board game smell. A mix of wood, paper, and ink, all wrapped in the sweet must of cardboard.
I actually do really appreciate new board game smell. Read the rule books, examine the component. I can't do plurals properly right now, apparently. Read the rule book, examine the components. Hey, Kim, want to play? Put the game away. It's a good idea to know how to play a game before inviting anybody else to play. I mean, say what you will about reading the rules while you're actually starting a session. It's a good idea to read it before you actually try to invite someone. So let's read.
Welcome to Suzerainty, a game of economic strategy for the whole family. The rulebook is sumptuously illustrated and thick as a Gradian novel.
Oh boy, we're going to be here a while. I'm used to when the quotes end, the voiceover stopping, which is why I just tried to jump in there. Anyway, sorry, keep reading.
The instructions are opaque at first and introduce many concepts you're not familiar with. Fortunately, there are many diagrams and examples throughout.
That's helpful. I continue.
You soon figure out the basic conceit. Each player represents an administrator for the suzerain of Revachol. Your objective is to increase the suzerain's wealth and renown by accumulating victory points.
How do you accumulate victory points? Fuck the suzerain. What about my wealth and renown? I've read enough. Put the rulebook away. I mean, it seems to be a royalist game, in which case everyone's working to... Your individual wealth and renown don't necessarily matter except for how they enhance the suzerain, which is the ruler, right? The king, queen, whatever, the suzerain. How do you accumulate victory points?
That's where the suzerain's vassals come in. The game features 4 vassal nations, each one home to an economically important resource.
Right.
Each turn, the player collects resources from vassals where they've placed workers. They may then rearrange their workers, fulfill contracts for coin and bonuses, or build structures back in Revachol.
All right, continue.
As you leaf through the pages, your eye catches on a sidebar labeled Advice for Beginners.
Read the advice or ignore it. Just tell me how a winner is determined. I mean, I only am able to see it because I succeeded a reaction speed check, so let's read it.
Remember, there are many paths to victory in suzerainty. But successful players will find one strategy and commit to it wholeheartedly.
Sure, okay. How's the winner determined?
The actual scoring system appears infinitely complex, with a series of tables and appendices required to compute each player's final victory point total. You skip that part for now.
This actually reminds me of a game called Seven Wonders, which, it's not quite the same because, you're basically building up... Well, I mean, it's very similar in some regards because you're building up opposing nations, ancient nations, and the scoring system is extremely arcane. In fact, I just have an app on my phone for it, and you can just plug in numbers, and it's like, this is what your score is. Anyway, examine the components.
You open up a number of pouches containing wooden tokens. There are also several punch boards with other cardboard components that will need to be punched out before you can play.
That's always a very important part of the process. Punch out the cardboard pieces one by one, check out the wooden tokens, put the components away. Punch them out! Punch them!
Each cardboard token makes a satisfying ch as you pop it out. Soon, a neat pile of cardboard coins and counters has accumulated before you.
Thank goodness I have this table right here. Continue.
What? You're not going to offer to let me punch any of them out?
I'm sorry, Kim. I didn't know you were interested. But apparently I waited until I was done to ask that. If you'd spoken up a little sooner, I'm sure there would have been plenty for you. Check out the wooden tokens.
In addition to the worker and building tokens used by each player, there are also several piles of colorful resource tokens, each representing one of the game's 4 principal resources.
Tell me one of them is sheep. Tell me one of them is sheep. Continue.
From the Empire of Sefre, orange apricot tokens. From Ilmarat, the ancestral name of Ilmara, gray marble block tokens. From the Seminine Islands, white sacks of sugar tokens. And from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza, magenta tokens for unprocessed cocaine leaves.
So no sheep, but yes cocaine. Okay, continue.
Oh, those are nice.
The lieutenant picks up a sugar token and admires it. Kim is totally into this. This is amazing. Put the components away.
You hold the open game box before you.
Hey, Kim, want to play?
The lieutenant looks over the rulebook before he sees something that makes his eyes go wide.
And what is that?
Holy shit. The average playing time for this game is 1 to 6 hours.
Continue.
I'm not sure we can afford to set aside that kind of time for a game.
Suggestion challenging 12. Convince Kim to play with you. 12? In suggestion? Intriguing components. Put the game away. Put the game away. Suggestion? Suggestion? Was it a white check or a red check? It looked like a white check. Suggestion? My suggestion's terrible because I have friggin' Lompty-Dompty-Dom going on. Destroying my chances of charming men and women playing the puppet master. Okay. Let me just have a quick look at it and make sure it's a white check. If it's a white check, I'll just switch my clothing to whatever I've got for suggestion and just see what I can do. All right? Hang on. Interact.
The suzerainty box is heavy and
White
slightly
check.
awkward.
Put the game away. Okay. Got it. So, suggestion. Let me work on that. It's not something I do most of the time. That's the opposite of what I want. The naval coat. Okay. And that's legitimately all that I've got to increase my suggestion. It makes it a 0 instead of a -1. Huh. And how difficult of a check was it?
The suzerainty
12.
box is heavy and slightly awkward in your hands. You give it a light shake and feel the pieces shift around inside.
So, at this point, if I rolled an 11 or a 12, I would be able to convince him to play. But chances are good that I'm going to fail that, huh? Shoot, this is the first suggestion check that I've seen where I've been like, no, wait, I actually want to do that. Okay. Well, 8% chance is not a 3% chance. It's not likely. I'm probably going to fail, but let's at least bring up the idea.
What? Does the lieutenant hate fun? Is he the fun police?
I forgot how much I hate failing white checks. Who died and made you the fun police is the only thing I can say.
The lieutenant gives you a sour look. He may or may not hate fun, but either way, he does not appreciate your attitude.
No, indeed. And also, I can't help but notice that the suggestion check is opened up again immediately. Persistent. Try again.
Have you tried goading him?
You just chicking out because you know I'd crush your ass.
In your dreams, maybe. I've thrashed my share of trash talkers before. Now come on, let's put childish things aside.
The lieutenant scoffs. Continue.
Ignore the mock umbrage. Now he wants to prove it to you.
I get to do it again. 28%. Really persistent. Convinced Kim to play with you.
What is detective work if not an elaborate game?
I succeeded.
You need logical inference, attention to detail, the ability to analyze your opponent's motives.
Honestly, I was kind of hoping that I'd continue to fail it to see what would happen if I continued to fail it. But that's okay. That's okay. I succeeded. Come on. It might help us think of more creative solutions to the case.
I do feel like my thinking has become somewhat rigid. Maybe a little diversion to keep the mind limber is just what's in order.
Wow, that was easy to convince you. He really does want to play, doesn't he? He does. Continue.
See? He's doing the hard work himself.
He is.
All he needed was a little nudge.
Seems like it. The right kind of nudge, and not just talking smack. Continue.
All right. You've convinced me. How do we play?
I don't know, let's wing it. Or, I read the rules already. I'll show you. I did read the rules specifically for the purpose of being able to show him, so yes.
You explain the basic setup procedures to the lieutenant, who seems to be a quick study. You each take your bag of tokens and counters and unfold the board between you.
We actually get to play. Continue.
In the center is the crown of Revachon. Radiating outward are her colorful vessels, each one supplying some raw material desired by the suzerain.
Okay, continue.
Apricots from Safre, archaeological treasures from Ilmarat, sugars from the Seminine Islands, and magenta cocaine from Supra Muindi and Sara Maritza.
Why is it that it's Muindi? I know I've already asked this, but Supra Mu... There's no E, but it's Supra Muindi, apparently. Also, I just properly registered that what we get from Ilmarat is archaeological treasures. So we're basically plundering these places. Continue.
There's also a neat little log to keep track of your progress, in case you need to put the game away and return to it later.
Well, that's useful. Continue.
The lieutenant goes first. He draws a contract card and moves several of his workers to the Safre territory of the board, and the others to the Seminine Islands.
So he's going for apricots and sugar. Okay, continue.
All right, detective. Your turn.
My turn. Continue.
You have a few options available to you. Will you try to fulfill contracts right away, or rearrange your workers to maximize production on future turns?
That's the second one there, maximizing production on future turns. That's usually how this sort of thing works out, unless you lean into it too hard and overextend yourself and don't actually get to a point where you have an endgame by the time endgame happens. Continue.
Remember what the rulebook said. You'll want to choose a strategy early on and stay committed to it.
Right. Try to fulfill a contract, let your workers rest for a while. Just do whatever Kim did. Let your workers rest for a while? That's not quite the same as rearranging your workers to maximize production, is it? Is it? Maybe the idea is that the workers are working if they have to fulfill a contract. But if you're not trying to fulfill it immediately, then they're resting? In any case, what I want to do is do the rearrange your workers thing, so I'm guessing that's this? We don't want to go for exactly what Kim did. It'll just overstretch those resources and probably not work out so hot. Plus, it's very competitive. Let's try the rest tactic, I guess. This sounds stupid. This sounds like a stupid tactic, but it also, the game specifically specified that there's a lot of different ways to win. So let us win through sloth.
What is the very beginning of the game? Your workers haven't even done any work yet.
Aha. Let them rest anyway? Okay, make them work a little, but not too much. It was the stupid option. Great, I chose the stupid option. Work a little bit.
That's more like it. You produce a handful of archaeological treasures and a smattering of other resources.
Great, continue.
Meanwhile, the lieutenant spends 2 of his sugar and 1 of his apricot tokens to complete his contract card. He is rewarded with 4 coins and a round wooden token that he places in the center of the board.
I wonder what that does. Continue.
That's a market. It's worth 2 victory points.
Neat. Hey, why don't I get one of those? Kim, can I do my first turn over? I think I messed up. Glower silently. Why don't I get one of
Don't
those?
worry, it was mostly just luck. You'll earn some points soon enough.
I'm not even sure what points are. That's part of the problem. Glower silently.
Points are nothing. They don't exist. They're just an arbitrary convention that games use to reward or punish players for certain behaviors.
Who came up with such a concept? Am I getting points right now? Look around. Oh, that makes sense. I'm going to go existential on it.
There are some paranoid types who believe the moral intern keeps detailed score sheets for everyone in the Real Belt. But that's obviously nonsense.
The lieutenant shrugs. Yeah, that's probably nonsense. Continue.
Otherwise, no. There are no points, just your actions and the consequences of those actions.
That's reassuring. That's terrifying. It's equal point. It's both in equal measures, isn't it? I'm going to go with reassuring for right now, though.
That's just the way it is.
The lieutenant doesn't seem to find much value in dwelling on the subject. Okay, continue.
Now, I believe it's your turn.
Great, continue.
Glancing over the board, you see several possible strategies. Pressing more workers into service would increase your economic output and help you to survive a possible conflict with the lieutenant. Or you could ignore your labor supply and focus on fulfilling contracts for points and resources.
Okay. Continue.
Those aren't your only options.
What do you have in mind, Rhetoric?
You could also show your workers how much you appreciate them by investing some of that wealth in them. After all, they're the ones producing wealth for the suzerain.
Remember how I mentioned that someone specifically told me that Rhetoric is the communist stat? Well, that does appear to be the case, but I do suspect that if there is a way to lose Suzerainty the board game, it's probably try to be communist at it. Continue.
Well, sure, you can do that. It's just not a terribly effective strategy, but then it's up to you.
So I can invest in the existing workers and devote myself to probably losing this game, or I can do this. This probably gets me more competitive. Yeah, this option, pressing more workers into service, probably gets me more competitive when it comes to a conflict with Kim, which it almost certainly will. Focus on fulfilling contracts. I mean, that's what I could have done on the first turn, and I didn't. And Kim, what should I do? I'm bored with this. Let's finish this game later. It's only been about 10 minutes at this point, I think. Possibly 20. You can never tell with board games. The first turn, I had them rest, and then had them do a little bit of work, but not too much. The one thing the game told me was to stick with the approach that I was doing. I can't do that. Unless what I was doing the first turn was focusing on fulfilling contracts, but doing it very poorly. Getting more workers. Invest in your existing workers. Should I just devote myself to playing a royalist game in a communist fashion and getting completely trounced by the person who actually understands what they're doing? Let's do it. Invest in your existing workers.
To the lieutenant's puzzlement, you spend several turns building various improvements to your territorial infrastructure.
Heck yeah, continue.
Soon, your workers have access to clean water, paved roads, and basic hobbies. In return, they produce 1 extra resource per turn.
Gaze on your workers like a benevolent parent. Grimace at them for not working harder. Now, benevolent parent, here we go.
Too bad investing in your workers just isn't worth many points.
What do you mean?
Take a look at the scoring tables in the back.
The lieutenant turns to one of the appendices you skipped over earlier. Continue.
You see in Table 8C that investing in territorial infrastructure multiplies your final victory point total by 1, which is to say not at all. Whereas erecting monuments in Revachol gives you a multiplier of 5.
Aha. So you're saying the values of the ruling class are completely divorced from the well-being of the people who generate their wealth? So you're saying I should treat my workers like disposable labor instead? So you're saying I fucked up? That one?
Yes, precisely.
Neat. Continue.
Nonsense. Remember what the lieutenant said. If points are arbitrary, who cares about winning? You should reject their system and just play how you want.
I suspect that won't be much fun for Kim, though. Continue.
Now it's the lieutenant's turn to respond. He moves aggressively onto the Safre territory. Soon, his workers are producing a steady supply of extremely valuable apricots.
Uh-huh. Continue.
For several turns, you struggle to respond to the lieutenant's burgeoning apricot empire. Eventually, you relocate the majority of your workers to Supremawindi and Saramaritsa, where they begin producing a bumper crop of cocaine tokens.
But also have no access to the infrastructure that I spent my first couple turns working up. Neat. Continue.
You draw a new contract card. According to the text, there's an aristocrat willing to trade a large supply of cocaine for a number of coins and access to a rare bonus. Amplified music worth 7 victory points.
Is there a catch to this? Continue.
You know, this isn't unlike the situation the historical Revacholian suzerainty faced in Safre in the middle of the last century.
I'm just going to look at this card and space out for 10 minutes. Don't mind me, Kim. Tell me more.
Well, the suzerain was looking for new markets for all the cocaine it was producing, and it settled on Safre.
Okay, continue.
By introducing cocaine into Safre under exclusive contract, the suzerain created an extremely valuable captive market for an extremely addictive product.
That is so morally bankrupt. That's fucked up. That's brilliant. What does that have to do with the game? That is fucked up.
If you could somehow get the lieutenant's workers addicted to your cocaine, you could not only make them less productive, you would also force the lieutenant to pay you for your cocaine tokens each turn.
Can you even do that, Encyclopedia? Do you know how to play this game?
Yes, you can.
What?
It's right there in the rules.
What? Continue.
You've reached a critical strategic juncture. How do you respond to the lieutenant's aggression?
Rock and roll, baby. Go for the contract. Give back to the workers. Sorry, Kim, you're not going to like this. Introduce the lieutenant's workers to cocaine. Attack the lieutenant and steal all of his resources. I'm bored with this. Let's do something else. It's a board game. If I were to follow the advice for beginners thing, I would just continue doing exactly what I'm doing. But again, as Kim pointed out, I'm not going to win, and it's not going to be interesting for him. If I go for the contract, it's a little too late. Kim will just steamroll me, and that's the end on it. It's part of the game, which means he knows it's part of the game, and he knows I have cocaine. He might not be aware that I can do this, but it'll make the game more interesting, I would imagine. Either that or he'll just be mad. He might just be mad, but that doesn't seem in character for Kim, right? He probably likes having a challenge, and he'd be interested that I actually did something that's going to force him to, think about the game. So I guess let's introduce the lieutenant's workers to cocaine? The lieutenant's face goes stony as you take your turn. He does not appreciate you getting all his workers addicted to cocaine. Continue.
With each passing turn, you slowly bleed the lieutenant of coins as his own workers become less productive and more dependent on your magenta cocaine tokens.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect there wouldn't be any way to combat that. Continue.
As a matter of historical fact, this is almost exactly what happened in Safre. To this day, fully half of the former Safre Empire remains dependent on international aid in exchange for a steady supply of cheap produce.
Man, this kind of sucks though, huh? Isn't this what they did in the Apricot Suzerainty in real life?
More or less.
The lieutenant says, but he's thinking less about matters of historical wrongdoing and how to get out of the jam you've put him in. Continue.
Realizing victory is slipping away, the lieutenant launches a desperate gambit. Protectionism. By erecting tariffs on your cocaine, he hopes to starve you out of the market at the risk of incurring the suzerain's disfavor.
Aha, continue.
The end game is upon you. Do you escalate the trade war with the lieutenant in hopes of crushing him with your economic might?
How? Continue?
Or do you ignore his aggression and focus on building the mighty victory column structure in Revachol herself?
Continue.
Alternatively, you could throw the whole game away by trying to build a public education system for the children of your workers.
Continue.
The choice is yours.
For almighty Revachol, go for the victory column. It's on, Kim. Launch a trade war. Build a public education system for your workers. I'm bored with this. Let's finish the game later. It's also been an hour since last time I checked. Okay, so here's the thing. Kim was not into having a challenge in the fashion that I was suggesting that he might be. I don't know if he just liked the prospect of winning, but maybe he just disliked the fact that I disrupted the structures he had put in place. If we launch a trade war, I will probably lose, right? Because I haven't distributed my workers in a fashion that gets me resources. But it does, like, getting his workers hooked on cocaine does put me at a massive advantage. Protectionism. Tariffs on the cocaine, right. This is throwing the game, but it's obviously throwing the game. Focusing on victory at this point is going to lose me the game, almost certainly. This is really weird because what I'm trying to do, I'm playing this game primarily focusing on how to make it interesting for Kim, but he was already interested in it. I just ruined the tactics he had built up. I've basically attempted to make this entertaining for Kim by specifically making it not entertaining for Kim. So that's pretty cool. I'm a pretty cool guy. Victory column, trade war, public education system. This is a lose. This is a win, possibly, but it's also, like, it sucks playing someone like that, right? Particularly if they've got your workers hooked on cocaine. Basically, if I'm just specifically focusing on destroying Kim rather than focusing on winning, that's an obnoxious way to play a game. It's not a bad way to win, but it sucks to play against. Now, just do the victory column and lose gracefully.
Building the ultimate structure requires diligent economic planning, which you completely fail to do.
Exactly. Continue.
Rather than build a glorious monument to Revachol's economic superiority, you have to settle for a handful of post offices and school for the blind.
Right. Continue.
A risky gambit, detective. Sorry it didn't pay off.
Guess I should have gone with a more consistent strategy.
That might have helped, yes.
Yeah, probably. The other option was complaining that the game was rigged, but I wasn't going to do that. Sorry, I should have read it out, though. Continue.
Now, let's tally up the scores, shall we?
I bet I got 2. Continue.
Computing the final scores is almost a game unto itself. You each spend an inordinate amount of time making stacks of coins, consulting tables, and struggling with basic addition and multiplication.
Sure, continue.
After double, then triple checking your maths, you have your final score.
Continue.
15 victory points. The suzerain will not be impressed.
No, continue.
I've got 26 points.
The lieutenant looks up from his tabulations. He says that, a barely contained smile breaking out across his face. Continue.
Don't be glum, detective. There's always next time. Figuratively, I mean. There's no way we have time to play this game again.
Are you sure? Continue.
Now, let's clean up and get back to work.
Okay.
You hold the open game box before you.
I lost, but that's okay, because I was actually kind of trying to at the end there, because I did hook his workers on cocaine, which, like, sucks, man. Put the game away. Great, I did that. I sure did that. I actually did gain some real and experience from encyclopedia checks while I was at it, too, so that's nice, I guess. I still don't have my 4th skill point, though. So I think that means I gained exactly 10 experience. And that's fine. And now it's 2 o'clock, which means there's only 8 hours left before I can actually meet with the pigs and get my gun back. But there are also more books to be read. However, today I'm out of time. What was this episode? I don't even know. It was board game night. That's what it was. It was board game night. Except by night, I do mean noon. Board game noon. It was board game noon. Thank you for watching Board Game Noon. Next time, I'm probably going to read a bunch of books. We'll see what happens, though. Maybe. Why is there something in here that I can interact with? Hey, hang on. I can't go in there. There's something in there. I would have to pay... Wait, can I actually open the door? Hang on. What is this? Kim tries not to look at your broken down bathroom door.
Kim also tries not to look at the pile of taped viscera on the carpet, or the weird suitcase on the hat rack, or the potted plant dying in the corner. But it's all just too morbid to ignore.
There's a suitcase on the hat rack? Continue.
The man is finding it hard not to trip on the tape, and not to send any of the bottles rolling across the floor.
I mean, I don't blame him, although I did already loot this place for tear a while ago. Continue.
Where unidentifiable sludge makes it hard for him to breathe. Smells of vomit in here.
You're looking at the destruction? I'm sorry for this. I did it my way. Got my own little coal here. Don't say that. This is where the magic happens. Say nothing. Nod stoically. I guess I've never actually taken him in here, have I? I'm kind of surprised, given that I haven't slept here for 2 nights, that they haven't done anything to clean the place up, but, who exactly would they send up here to clean it? Gart spends all his time at the counter. Sorry cop option, obviously. Superstar cop, I suppose. Friggin' sociopath option. This is where the magic happens. By the magic here, we do mean me losing my entire past, for better or for worse. You're looking at the destruction is kind of boring, but I wonder if that's the way to go. Just get his opinion on the situation.
He nods.
And now we're back to this list. Do I just go sorry, cop? Because I am sorry for this. It's just more browbeating of myself, which isn't really accomplishing anything. I don't know if it's productive to be like that. I could always say nothing, nod stoically, but I'm pretty sure that's the boring option. The magic. I'm sorry for this.
No problem, officer.
He takes a step towards the door, like he'd like to leave. And who can blame him for that? Let's just leave. Great. Wonderful. All right, well, like I was saying, this has been Board Game Noon. I'll see you next time.